Welcome to Miss Row Classroom. Today we will cover Poem 4, A Roadside Stand by Robert Frost. Let's start with the poet. Robert Frost was an American poet known for his simple language and evocative themes. In a few words, he successfully explored themes of nature, rural life, and human emotions. A Roadside Stand was first published in Atlantic Monthly in 1936. Returning to the poem, let's begin with the summarization. In A Roadside Stand, Robert Frost depicts a small roadside stand run by rural people and highlights their struggles for recognition and support from busy city dwellers. The speaker reflects on the indifference of city people who rush by, oblivious to the farmer's hopes and needs. The poem critiques the divide between urban and rural life, emphasizing the loss of empathy in modern society and conveying a cynical desire for understanding and support from those who benefit from the wealth of cities. Let's move to the line-by-line explanation of the poem. First, we will discuss the literal interpretation of the extracts, followed by the context. The little old house was out with a little new shed. In front at the edge of the road where the traffic sped. A roadside stand that too pathetically bled. It would not be fair to say for a dole of bread. But for some of the money, the cash, whose flow supports the flower of cities from sinking and withering faint. The polished traffic passed with the mind ahead, or, if ever aside a moment, then out of sorts. The speaker describes a small old house with a new shed, showing the simple rural life. It suggests that people don't have much but are trying to improve. The house and shed are beside a busy road where cars speed by. This shows that city people don't stop or notice the stand. The roadside stand seems to beg for help in a sad way. It asks for attention but gets none. Pathetically pled means the stand is trying to ask for something but is not getting any attention. The stand is not begging for food or charity. The people running it are not asking for free handouts, but are trying to earn something for themselves. They are asking for money, the cash that city people have, which helps support the wealth and beauty of the cities. The rural people want a small part of this wealth. The money the rural people hope to get helps the city grow and remain beautiful, like flowers. Without money, cities would weaken. The rural people want to benefit from this wealth too. The shiny cars that pass show wealth, but the people are focused on where they are going, not the stand. If the people in the cars ever look at the stand, they are annoyed or upset. They don't want to be bothered by it, showing their lack of interest in helping. In the first part of the poem, the poet is trying to highlight the rural people's struggle for survival which city dwellers overlook. The busy traffic symbolizes how people in cities often ignore the needs and efforts of those in rural areas. The roadside stand represents a hope for connection and support from the city which is unfulfilled. In the opening lines, Frost shows the gap between rural and urban life and expresses empathy for the people trying to make a living despite their challenges. At having the landscape marred with the artless paint of signs that with N turned wrong and S turned wrong, offered for sale wild berries in wooden quoits, or crook-necked golden squash with silver warts. Or beauty rests in a beautiful mountain scene. You have the money, but if you want to be mean, why keep your money this crossly and go along? The hurt to the scenery wouldn't be my complaint. The speaker mentions that the travelers might feel that the landscape's natural beauty is ruined by the roadside stand's simple, unskilled signs. The signs are poorly made with letters like N and S painted backwards or incorrectly. It highlights the rural people's lack of education or sophistication, making the wealthy travelers dismiss the stand. The stand sells local products like wild berries in small wooden containers called quads, which shows that it offers natural, homemade goods. Another item for sale is oddly shaped squash, which is described as crook-necked and has silver warts, highlighting the imperfections of the natural produce. The stand also offers the idea of rest and relaxation in the beautiful natural surroundings of the mountains. But wealthy travelers are not interested in this. The speaker addresses the wealthy travelers who choose to be unkind or stingy by not spending any money at the stand. The speaker questions why they hold on to their money and just drive by, implying frustration at their unwillingness to stop and support the rural people. The poet says he doesn't mind if the roadside stand hurts the view of the scenery. That's not the real issue. He is more concerned about the deeper problems the rural people face, not the visual disruption caused by the stand. The poet highlights how wealthy travelers are indifferent to rural people. They see the simple signs and goods at the stand as an eyesore, spoiling the landscape's beauty. Instead of helping, they drive by without care, holding on to their money. The poet emphasizes the disconnect between the wealthy and the rural poor, showing how the rich ignore the struggles of those trying to survive. So much as the trusting sorrow of what is unsaid, here far from the city we make our roadside stand and ask for some city money to feel in hand, to try if it will not make our being expand, and give us the life of the moving picture's promise that the party in power is said to be keeping from us. The speaker describes a deep unspoken sadness felt by the rural people. This trusting sorrow suggests they hope for better things but feel disappointed because their desires are not expressed openly. The rural people have set up their roadside stand in a remote area, away from the city, showing their desire to connect with city folks and earn a living. They are asking for money from city people, hoping that holding city money will give them a sense of security and worth. To feel in hand emphasizes their longing for this connection. They hope earning money will improve their lives and allow them to grow or expand as individuals. It symbolizes their desire for a better quality of life. The speaker refers to the idealized life, often shown in movies, suggesting they wish for the same happiness and success portrayed in films. The speaker implies that those in control are withholding this ideal life from the rural people, leading to feelings of frustration and injustice. The poet highlights the hopes and dreams of rural people who feel disconnected from the wealth and opportunities of the city. The speaker expresses a deep sadness about their situation, feeling those in power are denying them the ideal life. Lines 17 to 22 emphasize the contrast between rural folks' aspirations and the harsh reality they face, showcasing their vulnerability and longing for a better life. It is in the news that all these pitiful kin are to be brought out and mercifully gathered in, to live in villages next to the theatre and the store, where they won't have to think for themselves anymore. While greedy good doers, beneficent beasts of prey, swarm over their lives enforcing benefits that are calculated to soothe them out of their wits, and by teaching them how to sleep, they sleep all day, destroying their sleeping at night the ancient way. The speaker refers to news reports about the rural people, calling them pitiful kin, suggesting that society sees them as helpless or unfortunate. These rural people are being offered money to leave their homes and move to new places, described as being done with kindness. However, this implies that they are being treated like objects to be moved rather than individuals with rights. The rural people are promised they will live in villages close to theatres and stores, suggesting a move to a more modern city lifestyle. The speaker implies that these new lives will be easier for them, but at the cost of their independence. They will no longer have to make decisions for themselves, which can lead to a loss of freedom. The speaker describes people who claim to help the rural folk as greedy good doers. This phrase, beasts of prey, suggests that these helpers take advantage of the rural people instead of genuinely helping them. These so-called good doers invade the lives of rural people, imposing help or benefits that may not improve their lives but rather control them. The benefits offered are designed to distract or calm the rural people, but they may lead to confusion or a loss of awareness of their true situation. The rural people are taught to become passive or inactive, leading them to sleep all day. This suggests that they are losing their motivation and ability to take charge of their lives. The speaker contrasts this with the traditional way of life. People were active and engaged, working hard during the day and resting at night. This new way of life destroys their natural rhythms and cultural identity. In this section of the poem, the poet highlights the empty promises made by politicians and so-called benefactors to rural people. Instead of genuine support, these good doers exploit rural people, taking away their independence and cultural identity. The poet suggests that these promises are deceptive, leading to a passive life in which rural people become dependent and lose their traditional way of life. The focus is on the negative impact of false kindness and the loss of agency among the rural population. Sometimes I feel myself I can hardly bear. The thought of so much childish longing in vain. The sadness that lurks near the open window there, that waits all day in almost open prayer. For the squeal of brakes, the sounds of a stopping car, of all the thousand selfish cars that pass, just one to inquire what a farmer's prices are, and one that stop but only to plough up grass, in using the yard to back and turn around, and another to ask the way where it was bound, and another to ask could they sell it a gallon of gas. They couldn't, discrossly, they had none, didn't they see? The speaker expresses a strong emotional burden, overwhelmed by their sadness and longing for something better. The speaker reflects on how this longing is similar to a child's innocent hopes but pointless. It suggests a deep desire for connection or understanding that remains unfulfilled. The speaker describes a sadness that seems to hang around, waiting. The open window represents an opportunity for something to come in but remains empty. The sadness is described as if it is praying for something to happen. Almost open prayer suggests a present but not fully realized hope. The speaker longs to hear a car stop, indicating that someone is finally interested in the roadside stand. The squeal of brakes symbolizes hope for attention. The speaker acknowledges the many cars that drive by without stopping. The word selfish suggests that these drivers only consider themselves and their needs. The speaker wishes for just one driver to stop and ask about the prices of the goods for sale. This simple act would signify interest and acknowledgement of their efforts. Finally, one car stops but only uses the yard as a place to turn around, showing no genuine interest in the stand or its offerings. The driver maneuvers their car in the space around the stand, further emphasizing their lack of concern for the rural people and their businesses. Another car stops but only to ask for directions to another location. This shows that the drivers are focused on their journeys rather than engaging with the stand. Another driver stops to ask if they can buy gas or petrol, highlighting the irony that the rural people cannot even provide basic services like selling petrol. The speaker notes that they do not have gas to sell, and the tone is somewhat annoyed. It shows frustration at the misunderstandings and the traveler's lack of awareness. In this section of the poem, the poet emphasizes the deep yearning of rural people for recognition and connection. Despite the many cars that pass, only a few show any interest, and those that do are focused on their own needs rather than engaging with the rural community. The poet highlights the emotional impact of this neglect, revealing a sense of hopelessness and longing for understanding and acknowledgement from city people. This part highlights the desire for genuine interaction amid the indifference of modern life. No, in country money, the country scale of gain, the requisite lift of spirit has never been found, or so the voice of the country seems to complain. I can't help owning the great relief it would be to put these people at one stroke out of their pain, and then next day as I come back into the sane, I wonder how I should like you to come to me and offer to put me gently out of my pain. The speaker reflects on how money in rural areas does not bring the same benefits or happiness as in the city. The country scale of gain suggests that the profits here are limited and less rewarding. The speaker suggests that the money needed to improve their lives and boost their spirits is missing. They feel despair because they cannot find what they need to feel uplifted. This line indicates that dissatisfaction is shared among the rural people as if they collectively express their struggles and frustrations. The speaker admits that he thinks how wonderful it would be to relieve the pain and suffering of the rural people, suggesting a deep empathy for the situation. The poet wishes he could wholly and quickly end the rural community's hardships. One stroke implies a desire for a simple, immediate solution to their problems. The speaker acknowledges that after feeling this relief, they would return to reality. This suggests a struggle between hope and the harshness of life. The speaker starts to think about how it would feel if someone offered them the same relief from their pain and suffering, indicating a reflective moment. The speaker questions how they would feel if someone offered to end their pain gently, suggesting a deep longing for understanding and compassion in their own lives. The poem explores the speaker's feelings of empathy and frustration regarding the challenges faced by the rural people. The speaker reflects on the limitations of money in rural areas, emphasizing that it does not bring happiness or fulfillment seen in cities. The poet highlights the internal conflict between wanting to help others and feeling the weight of their struggles, emphasizing the shared human experience of suffering and the need for connection. Now let's shift to the analysis of the poem. The poem employs a first-person narrative voice, allowing the speaker to express personal feelings and observations about the roadside stand and its owners. This perspective invites readers to connect emotionally with the speaker's reflections. Second, tone. The poem's tone is reflective as the speaker contemplates the broader implications of rural life and urban society's indifference. It is accusatory, pointing out the neglect and selfishness of the city dwellers who disregard the struggles of the rural community. The tone is also melancholic, conveying a sense of sadness and longing for connection and recognition from the city as the rural people wait in vain for help and support. Though the poem lacks a consistent rhyme scheme, it uses rhyme in distinctive and unexpected ways. The poem has an irregular rhythm, reinforcing the poet's emotional frustration. The poem also features slant rhyme, also known as half rhyme or near rhyme. Slant rhyme occurs when words have similar but not exact rhyming sounds. Now let's shift to the themes present in the poem. First, urban versus rural divide. The poem explores the gap between urban life's wealth and indifference and rural existence struggles. Second, desire for acknowledgement. Rural people's yearning for recognition and support reflects their desire to be valued in a rapidly changing world. Third, critique of modern society. Frost critiques the superficiality of modern life, where materialism and busyness lead to a loss of empathy and connection. Next is imagery and symbolism. The roadside stand symbolizes the rural community's efforts to survive and thrive amidst neglect. Traffic represents the hurried pace of urban life and the lack of awareness of those who live outside the cities. To summarize, Robert Frost's A Roadside Stand poignantly comments on the disconnection between urban and rural communities. Through reflective and accusatory tones, the poem invites readers to consider the value of human connection and the importance of recognizing the struggles of others. This concludes the explanation of Robert Frost's A Roadside Stand. Please visit our website www.mroclassroom.com for summaries, character sketches, themes, vocabulary, MCQs, important passages, question answers for Class 12 English chapters or poems, including extract-based questions. Stay tuned. We'll meet again to discuss Poem 5, Aunt Jennifer's Tigers by Adrian Rich. If you like the content, please press the notification bell, subscribe, like, comment, and share the video. Bye-bye.